First of all, we'll start off with the introduction of pen testing. Okay, it's not like installing the Linux distribution. I'll start off with the introduction of pen testing, introduction of Linux. Then we will come up to these points: intelligence gathering. I want to touch with you online sources and active information gathering with you. Linux, not today, right? Linux, not today. We'll set up Linux and we'll learn basic commands of Linux. That would be good. Okay, so when I say like pen testing, we'll start off with this keyword pen testing, and the course is like advanced penetration testing over here. Okay, so guys, if we talk about pen testing, how many type of pen testings are there? Yeah, these all are type of pen tests. You're right. So like you will have complete information over here. Okay, complete information over here. Black box, you have no information. Almost you will have no info about the target, that what technology they are using, on what platform it is built, nothing. They just give you an IP and they will say you, okay, Mr. Yashwant, just do a black box pen test. You don't know anything about it. White box, they will give you source code, they will give you application type, they will give you some credential to test. Might be they will give you certain kind of tokens to test. Okay. And gray box is like partial. Right. So partial information, I'll tell you what basically this is where the industry is playing. Okay. Industry is playing at two different levels. Industry is playing at these two basically. Nobody will give you a white box thing until unless you are doing an internal pen test. Okay. Internal and external pen test, generally we are calling it. Right. So internal means like you are inside the organization, you have full privilege. So if their own organization, own application is there, you can demand the source code. You can demand what are the socket use, what is the port use. Otherwise, rest of the industry, if you think clientele you talk about, your member firms are there, they will just give you, they will say, okay, you are the consultant, you are the engineer, come over here, just have an IP with me and just give me the pen test of this thing. Take the URL, pen test. So it's a challenge for a pen tester over there to do the black box. The first thing comes up over here is couple of documents comes up into the picture. Couple of documents. Okay. Gray box also you can demand, okay, at least let's suppose at stage one, the agile cycle is there. At stage one, if we talk about, you're not able to find something. So you will demand maybe some information from them. User credential you break in, come over here, take the user credential, try to like scan the application now, authenticated scan, non-authenticated scan. Okay. So basically industry is playing up with these kind of scenario. Okay. And basically, when you talk about like on a broad level, what Mr. Paz has said was also right. If you talk about like network pen testing, right? Then you have internal, external. These are also type of pen testing, right? Then you talk about web applications, web application pen testing. We can talk about this stuff. We can talk about your wireless penetration testing, right? There are a lot of verticals. You can talk about IoT also, guys. There is no problem in that, right? Then one of our member right now, DevOps engineer, right? Ma'am, you're there, right? So basically now if you scale up that particular thing, you have DevSecOps, right? So DevSecOps is like DevOps, basically DevOps engineer. Like they configure the environment, they see like the security point of view as well. This DevSecOps field, right? This development, security, and operation. So it start off with like let's suppose anybody creates up a button over there, a button, a normal button, okay, submit button. The security person will test that button using the OWASP top 10 controls, click jacking, right? SQL injection is possible or not. He will test in all the ways that particular button over there. Okay. Then it is bring into the operations. Test cases, functional testing is done. If the client says that I don't like the button, this process is repeated again. Again, you have to start with a new development, new security thing, and new operational stuff over there. Okay. So basically, we are working on CI/CD pipelines over here in this seventh point. Ansible, GitLabs, Jenkins server, these things come into the picture, right? So tool is also there. OWASP dependency checker is there for the vulnerability assessment. I will tell you once we will touch this point. Okay. So basically, he's asked and asked. It is nothing, guys. I'm just writing it down. If anybody doesn't know, dynamic application security testing and static, right? So these little keyword will come up over here. We will write like this. There is no problem in that. I'll start off with the introduction. This is was just a basic thing that what does this course will say to you. Okay, not all the points over here we'll discuss, but we are talking about on a very broad level that these things are possible in pen testing. Okay, so these things are there. Now, if we go ahead with the course agenda, here it is written. The first point is installing Linux distribution for pen testing. I'll come it to later on right now. I'm coming to a point, guys, over here, which is phases of pen testing. Okay, so phases of pen testing in this case would be a little bit different. Okay, so first of all, I'll start off with this part. This is my introduction to pen test. Okay, so pen testing is generally used by a couple of companies to test the security of their software and infrastructure. Infrastructure pen testing is also one of the keyword which is possible because right now everyone is using Azure Active Directories, okay, Google Cloud, these things. So cloud pen test is also one hot thing which is going on in the market right now because of this COVID-19 situation. Everyone migrated over there, and lot of attacks is happening over there as well. Okay. Anybody know a latest hack that happened last night? It was a very interesting hack. Anybody? Haldiram, anybody heard of the news? If you don't, just see over here, right, what people have done. Right, their almost 39 server were hacked. Okay, there's a city nearby in Delhi only, Noida. It is there. 39 server, right? And the company is based out of this sector 62 in a Noida region. And he had access to all the financial and the sales detail. Okay, customer database has also been affected. And the only thing that was used was a ransomware attack. Okay, so ransomware attack happened and he demanded this much rupees to release the information. Okay, so this is the latest thing that happened. Like right now, it is still there in the investigation, and the cyber cell is still working on it. Still, it is not being disclosed, but hopefully, there's a hope that it will be there. But their servers are being hacked. Ransomware has been hit, and to decrypt that thing, they took like 7.50 lakhs over there, almost. That was the recent, just few hours back. It got done. So last night around 7 p.m., 8 p.m., this hack was being there in the market. Okay, this is one of the case. Cool. So if we start off with this thing, like we talked about, like we have network pen test, mobile, web application, cloud, even social engineering also. Because in phishing or reverse phishing, generally we call it, we have to have this skill with us, which is social engineering testing. Okay, so if we talk about guys basic phases of hacking, there are basically five phases which everybody studies. Footprinting, reconnaissance, or basically in a very simple note, guys, we can tell that it is nothing but information gathering on a very simple note. Okay, so this is like second term is a bookish term which everybody or on the Google also you will see this keyword only. Okay, reconnaissance basically. Second thing is what? Scanning. Scanning and enumeration, you are saying. Okay, cool. Third, gaining access. Okay. Gaining access, or can we say a keyword which is like exploitation? Okay. Then maintaining access, or we can say post exploitation. Okay. What is the last step? Clearing tracks. Okay. Or we can say like covering logs as well. Covering tracks, clearing tracks, whatever you say, there is no problem. This is the stuff, right? So the one I am highlighting in the red or green over here, these will be the most common keywords that we will be using, guys. Okay, the whole core course is depending upon these stuff. If you compare, so as we started with intelligence gathering or information gathering, then scanning part, then exploitation window stuff, post exploitation, maintaining the access, backdoor kind of stuff, and then clearing the logs. These things are being talked over here. Okay, the one in the slide, this is the thing that we said is followed in the industry everywhere. It is the same thing everywhere. Okay, you talk about any kind of pen test, this thing is there for sure. Any, right? This thing will be there, and we have to follow this particular step only, right? We made this thing a little bit more simpler using some more in-depth concepts like this one. Okay, I'll just give you a full screenshot. It is written pre-engagement interaction, reconnaissance, threat modeling, exploitation, post-exploitation, and reporting. So it is a little bit like improvised version, I would say, or the one which we actually should follow in the pen testing part. Okay, now if we talk about, guys, second one, it is written reconnaissance or OSINT. What is OSINT? Open source intelligence. Okay, so basically, then we should come at our notes and we should say open source intelligence. So, open source intelligence, is it really open source, or I can have some paid tools with me? Paid tools as well, we should bring it, right? So, first thing, this confusion has to be clear once it is written open source intelligence, right? Because in the organization, they want you to do this kind of stuff when you do threat intel or threat hunting. Then they should bring these things with you. Okay. So open source intelligence doesn't mean that you will be using Google and all the tools for OSINT. You can use paid tools as well if it is allowed in the organization. So OSINT doesn't mean open source intelligence, doesn't mean that it is free. It can be paid as well. First thing, get it clear. Okay. Yes, I wrote as a part of reconnaissance only because most of the people they think it is something different. The viewpoint is different over here. Otherwise, the goal is same. You want to gather as much as information about the attacks, new threat actors, or maybe people, or maybe information, anything new, right? So basically, the first and the foremost step of vulnerability assessment penetration testing, VAPT we call it, is VA vulnerability assessment, and you can do the vulnerability assessment in a nice manner if you have the proper good information with you. I'm not talking about the redundant data. Okay, so I'm just talking about the very nice information with you. Then only you can perform in a nice manner. Okay, so open source intelligence is like you will go to multiple platforms, you will gather the information. Maybe you find a domain. From the domain, you're finding all the email address of the company. That is some open source intelligence. Okay, you're finding username, you're finding phone numbers. That is intelligence going on over there. Okay, so these things we'll be talking about for sure. Okay, all right, over here. So I wrote a point for it, guys. I had a one point over here. So search engines we will gather through domain, who is lookups, social engineering, tax records, internal internet footprinting. Internet footprinting means email address, username, social network, these things I'm talking about. Internal footprinting, that means we are doing some playing around with the DNS and the network. Ping sweeps, port scanning, reverse engineering, these stuff, right? And dumpster diving and tailgating, I will explain you later, but these are part of these things only. Dumpster diving and tailgating. For surely, I will explain you this. Then only I'll write up into the notes. Okay, there are multiple techniques, but I will explain you in a nice manner. Then third thing, if you guys see over here, threat modeling and vulnerability identification. So anybody in the third point, what we should include? So I wrote 2 points, right? I will write more right now. Employee data. Okay, technical data. Threat modeling is finding, like you can say, your business assets, right? When your business asset, these things comes like which one is critical, which one is not critical. Business asset we can talk about. You can talk about your customer data, right? You can talk about your internal pen test or internet pen test over here. Internal pen test you can talk about over here. There's no problem, right? So internal and external threats are there, right? Risk is there. So your employee can also be a risk to you. So here, threat modeling, you're basically focused upon the customer data. You're focused on the employee data. You're focused on your technical data. business assets, you can talk about your internal pen test over here. Okay, so here these are the multiple various sector which will be talking about the identification part. Okay, so basically you can see right now there is no scanning part going on over here. We are just gathering and we are going into more deep over here. Okay, exploitation is the step where actually you start to hack in. Okay, the exploitation part. Okay, give me an example over here. In the exploitation, any example? Achieve for the target. Correct. Since you can see point number one, two, three, pre-engagement, reconnaissance, and threat modeling. Basically, we are gathering the information, we are finding the vulnerability. Now it is the high time to have an entry point into the application or system or infra or any other thing you have in front of you. This is nothing but the entry point where you will be taking the advantage of the vulnerability and started doing the exploitation for the scenario. Okay, exploitation is there now. Cool. Exploitation entry point is there now. You are into the system now. Next step is saying post exploitation analysis and recommendation. What we will do over here, guys? Reverse shell is saying good. Generally, if you are like from the SOC team, you will see post incident activity. We generally say lesson learned. That how it is being done over here. We'll write the whole story, lesson learned over here. Okay, that is the stuff. And prevention recommendation, generally we say impact. See, generally in the report we write two things. One is the impact and one is the recommendation. You're right. References, right? These things we are writing. Very nice. Any other point? Because there are 3 points in this. Impact, recommendation, and references. These points we need to add in the report for sure. See here the your backdoor, reverse shell, whatever method you are doing, rootkit, whatever you are installing, right? Maybe you're installing a script over there, a PowerShell script or a Python script, anything you're doing. Detection is one thing which we need to do, like containment, isolation. These things we need to go in deep and study over here. Okay, in deep we need to go because after here your client will start demanding you reports and the mitigation step from a pen tester generally, right? So if you are touching anyone's application and you're finding bugs, they will be surprised to see that bug. And after that, you have to provide the mitigation, the impact, recommendation, and references over here in the reporting part. Okay, which is quite good over here. So generally, proof of concept, guys, we need to perform it over here. It starts with the exploitation part only. Screenshot part will start from there only. But we need to prove this thing that okay, this vulnerability exists and this is the impact over here. Low, medium, high. You're right. Risk analysis, you're right. Impact analysis we do over here. Okay.